So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to you all from Dubai, and good afternoon to all our colleagues who are joining us online. Welcome to this session that is organized as part of the third Global Food Regulatory Science Symposium here in Dubai as part of the 18th Dubai International Food Safety Conference. As part of the conference and this symposium, we have the privilege to be partnering with the World Health Organization, represented by Dr. Muazzez Sana, and as part of the Arab Codex Initiative, supported by the US Department of Agriculture's Codex Office, and all the various partners, ETSMO, the GSO, within the region, and other regulators. We have decided that we are, in fact, organizing a particular workshop to address a request that came from the region, which is how to be more effective and more active in providing data on the basis of which decisions can be made at the international level. That's particularly within the Codex Alimentarius Commission. But also, by the same token, having access to data and working with the data to support the domestic or the regional decision-making process in conducting risk assessments and in developing risk management options for various food safety challenges. Dr. Sana from WHO has been working with his team in developing a series of workshops that are being, in fact, delivered or have been delivered in various parts of the world. And we are privileged to benefit from the experience and the support that WHO is offering us to deliver this training. It's a workshop in the form of a training. So we're going to have both, presentations as well as work that we'll be conducting here. And in fact, I'm going to use this opportunity for colleagues who are in Dubai and who are not here and who are part of the Arab Codex Initiative. If you are somewhere in Dubai, we're asking you to come and join back this workshop that was organized for you. So we're very much actually hoping that you will answer that call that's dedicated to all the colleagues from the Arab Codex Initiative who came here in order to be part of these activities. So I thank the colleagues who are joining us online for this purpose. And without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Muazzez Sana to join us and actually to initiate this workshop that will take actually a day and a half. So thank you very much, Muazzez, for your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you, Samuel, for this introduction. I'm happy to be here with you. Yes, we did this initiative in different parts of the world since 2 years ago. And usually we organize it for a full week so we can appreciate different approaches on how to generate the data and why we generate the data and why data are needed at national and at international level. And of course, majority of our work is linked to the Codex Alimentarius. And as you are very active in Codex Alimentarius, it is very important that as an efficient participation to the Codex is not only to participate to the meeting, there are different ways to participate to the Codex through the meeting, participating in the working group, providing the data, and providing experts for the scientific advice organized by FAO and WHO. So I will start with this small introduction on the concept of why we need data, in which context we need the data. We try to do this in more interactive way. So I need your participation. It's not only one way, it's multi-ways exchange. And I would like to make this afternoon. We don't, the importance is that, we have one very nice presentation the first day about how to design training, how to design workshop. It's really very important, and it's very important that the participants, we call them participant, participate and express and yourselves during this workshop. So I'm trying to share my slides. Give me a few seconds. I think it's better that I share the full screen. And I have this one. Okay, so can we take out a little bit? Yes, so our workshop is database decision making. We call it in WHO data-driven approach. So I will try start first with the general principle of risk analysis. Okay, so first I will explain where I'm coming from Nutrition and Food Safety Department, data-driven risk analysis and risk assessment. And before that, because this afternoon we'll use Slido. Give me 1 second. So I will try to. Oops, what's oh. Okay. I'm losing the connection. Okay, should start now. Again. Yeah, technology sometimes is not with you 100% of the time. I tried just a few minutes and it was working. Give me 1 second. Ooh. If not, I have another way to do it. Give me. I can do it in this way. I have a plan B. Okay. 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 It should be here. Okay. Can you try? So can you try to connect using this QR codes and answer this question just to start, and so you can become familiar with the system. So first question, which country are you joining us from? Yeah, I have one participant, two participant typing. Wow. Yeah, man, coming. That's good. So, perfect. Tunisia, Morocco, Oman. We are more Oman. Lebanon. That's good. Because you add your flag. That's why it's different. Yeah, that's good. So all you are familiar now. We can move to another question, so you can use it. You can use your computer as well. Huh? If you are using your computer, you can type slido.com and you add this hashtag and the number, and you will be connected as well. Okay, so next, just next question. How you feel today? So it's afternoon after the lunch. I have okay. 5 votes. Great, fine, excited. Great, very good. So yeah, I need to keep this momentum. So all participants are very at risk. Why at risk? After lunch. Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's move to my presentation. So now I can use the data. Okay, so I'm as someone said, I'm coming from WHO. I'm working in Geneva and the nutrition and food safety. The nutrition and food safety department is addressing the burden of disease from physical, chemical, microbial hazard in food and unhealthy diets, maternal child malnutrition, overweight, and obesity. So you see, we are looking at the food in general at different stages of the, and we are trying to help countries, support countries for their program policy on nutrition and food safety. And we are putting them now in a more integrated approach about the food system in general. We have different units. We have the scientific advice doing risk-based approach. We have the action in health system unit. We have monitoring nutrition and food safety evidence unit, and we have multi-sectoral action units. So in this department, we are dealing with science. We are developing guidance, scientific guidance, giving scientific advice to the countries, and we are developing as well guideline for the implementation of policy. And in addition to that, we support the country because when you implement policy, you need to monitor the implementation, and you need to monitor the impact of the implementation of your policy on different indicators and outcomes. I will mainly I will talk about the scientific advice. We are working with the Codex Alimentarius, Codex Alimentarius with different Codex committees. And with the FIO, we have a joint program for scientific advice. We deal with the Joint Committee on Food Additives, JECFA, joint meeting on pesticide residues for GMPR, joint meeting on microbiological risk assessment, GEMRA, and we develop nutrition guidelines. There is a series of nutrition guidelines, and we help the Codex for databases. We have different databases. I will present them today and tomorrow. And we are doing a lot of capacity building through Codex Trust Funds. Regional and country officer are working because you need to understand that we are not working only from Geneva. We have this 3 levels action from Geneva to the region, from region to the countries. And to coordinate our work, we have an annual physical meeting with all the region's advisor on food safety and nutrition to coordinate our work. And we are always working together and try to have our action at the 3 levels. We organize workshop training, and we are developing risk assessment and surveillance tools for the countries. Okay, so now I'm moving about data driven. Do you know Edwards Deming? So why data driven? So I like this quote because he said, "In God we trust. All others need to bring data." Did you understand that? So this is very important because this is the foundation of all our action in food safety and Codex Alimentarius. We said we are science-based. We are not here to listen for one person with an opinion. We should do this and this and this. So to decide to start a new work or to decide to put some work as priority, we need evidence. We need evidence for that. So that's why, and this is a big change that we observed since 20 years ago. So you know the approach of experts, huh? How you define an expert, scientific expert? Knowledge and experience. And what you expect from an expert? Now, no. But if you have a problem, if you are a manager, solution. Yeah, you expect solution. But recommendation, yes. Other advice. But did you? Huh? Okay. Uh, yeah. No, this is the change of the expert. The experts used to come and bring their own solution and said, yeah, apply that. And you said, because he's the expert, I will listen to him. And it was like this several times ago. Now, there is a change on the way we are using experts. When we have experts in the meeting, we are not asking them for their opinion. We ask them, what do they think about the available data? What's the current knowledge? What we know and what we don't know. And from that, they bring recommendation, and the final recommendation, they are different solution, different option, but the decision for which option to be implemented, it will be the risk manager, no more the experts. So this is something completely different, and the experts come and give the solution, and you apply. Now you need to work with the expert, and the expert, they have different way to. Okay, so I'm trying to see now if my system is working. Not switching. Okay, I will switch here. So I have this question. So if you know the situation in your country, could you please give me your top priorities? So you can rank them. So I put food, waterborne microbiological hazards, chemical contaminants in food, food additives, pesticide residue in food, or bacterial drugs in food. What is, if you want to rank them, what are the at the top? Hmm? Oops, sorry. I have only two. I need to show results. Now it's here. So the top one, oh, it's changing. Hmm. Oh, yeah, pesticides. It's coming. Yeah, we have 16. We expect to have, we are here, how many parties? We expect to have minimum 25. Huh? So please, to make it more representative. Yeah, they are there. If you lost the page, you can reconnect. Huh? You can reconnect, and you'll be linked to this page. So pesticides and their type and chemical are almost the same. So the same. Okay. So 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 my question is, there's some ambiguity in my question. Why we put them as priority? Why, if you put pesticide residue in food as top priority, what is the rationale for that? Can you? Yeah. Yeah, because you have some accident of use or because, yeah. Yeah, because for the, yeah, I think because we have participant online. So if someone can be here, or give him one microphone, so we can put two microphones from both sides. So it will.
So it may be because we are deploying a lot of efforts, we are developing a lot of programs and monitoring programs and putting a lot of efforts and resources in that topic. It is a priority because, it is a priority because measuring the risk.
Yeah, because you have some information telling you that you experience some high level or so because you have this information. Okay. Yeah, or because import export because you want to yeah, because you want to protect your commerce or you want to protect your consumer, you anticipate. So you see, it can be as reactive to something or proactive to prevent. Okay, so and but here I see that all veterinary drugs in food are put down in the list. Why? Why pesticides up and vet drugs is down? Yes, why? Okay, because you have no information, the absence of data. The absence of data, you will put it down. It can be a problem. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, because the perception, yes. Yeah, there's more information, more communication. The perception will so when as a manager in your country, so it's hard to decide which one are the priority, and for that we need more information. It's multi-criteria decision to put it at top one or top two or top three, and one of the risk management activity is to define those priority. So it can be priority because of public health issue or existing or to prevent public health. It can be for the commerce. It is to react to the perception to show there is a false perception, because always we say pesticides is an issue because when you look at recently in Europe, there's a lot of papers showing, yeah, this is the list of 6 or 12 fruits and vegetables that you need to avoid because there is high contamination of pesticides. But when you look at the data, there's only about presence. There's not high level. You need to look at the level of contamination. So you need to have the data and you need to do the interpretation of the data before you make the decision. So why I put this question is that you appreciate those decisions on putting priority need to have enough data, good quality of data, and not the data only on the contamination, but data about public health, about the contamination, about the consumption, about the commerce, the difficulty to import, export, and so on. Okay.
It's also, when I answer this question, it's also the scale of what should I say, the performance, at what scale it's being done. For the pesticide, it could be done by many farmers, even small farmers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, the veterinary drugs is another problem. It can be a big more controlled, and if you import a lot of meat coming from some countries, so it's clear that we have more perception about pesticide rather than veterinary drugs. Okay, so let's, this is the data-driven is very important. Move next. So, so when we are talking, we are always putting data-driven, evidence-based, science-based, risk-based. So do you see the difference between all of that? Risk-based. So which one we need to use? Risk-based, data-driven, evidence-based? In the context of your activity, huh? Yeah. Yeah, because usually you are, if you look at risk-based, we have within it science. You have the science within it, and you have the data within it. And so that's why I repeat, and sometimes I'm a little bit disappointed by the Codex family in general, because the Codex, after the SPS agreement, the Codex was the first to promote the use of risk analysis and risk-based approach. And this language, risk-based, is disappearing, completely disappearing in the majority of the, when you look at the debates, yeah, science-based, but it's at the end, it's risk-based, because when it comes to decision, we need to have a trade-off, what you accept as the risk and what you don't accept as the risk. And the fact that we lose this approach of risk-based, we are having the false perception of safety, absence of risk, and so on. So for me, risk analysis is the base, and within it, you can find data, you can find the science and everything. So, okay, so this is risk analysis, and you have risk assessment within it, which is not in isolation. It is used within the risk analysis approach, risk communication, and risk management. So it is very important that risk assessment was done in a very objective way, connection with this manager and the communication. You know that. Okay. So I will go directly. This I put that for you. So when you look at risk assessment, and you look at the different type of data that we can use. Yeah, when you want to do full risk assessment to understand a problem, a risk problem, sometimes you need to have very important data on processing, how they are processing it, how they are the data about processing, about traceability. You need to have data about pathogen, whole genome sequencing data is becoming very popular now, toxicological data, diet and food handling data, and at the end is a way risk assessment to integrate different data coming from different fields. And that's why I would like to to develop this idea is I call it data literacy. So we all learn how to read, to write, and so on. But I think we need to do the same thing for data. What I mean by data literacy is that understand the data, be able to collect the data, and be able to use the data when it comes to decision making. So this is something that we need to start to educate our children at the beginning of their age to understand the use of the data. Because today, when you, with all the social media, the data, we are forgetting the data. Yeah, we have information without understanding what is behind. Okay, so this is, I will move quickly. So, do you have any question here before I move to the next step? What is your plan? We will take a break or we continue? Huh? No, just to know when I have to break. Okay. Okay, let's show you what we are doing as scientific advice for the Codex. So this is important. What I try to take this out. I think I can minimize it. Yes. Okay. So in WHO, we are we have with the FAO joint program. We have the GECFA, we have GMPR, we have GEMRA, GEMNO. We can do allergens. We have the WHO guidance on nutrition, and we can do FAO expert consultation. So when you are doing that, what is needed? We need sort of risk assessment policy, and in this risk assessment policy, how we are doing risk assessment, we have three components. We have data, of course. If you don't have data, you don't have the knowledge, there's no expertise. We need people with brains, expert, they can understand the data, help us to understand the data, and help us to synthesize the data. And we need to have some procedure. The procedure so to protect the integrity of the scientific advice. There's no conflict of interest. People can have open discussion between them. There is no good idea or bad idea. So open thinking. So it's very important how to organize the debate between the experts. So after that, what we have. So just to show you that all those meetings, they are not open to public, of course, because but before the meeting, you see the objective, you see the list of participants to the meeting and their biography. So if you see that we are missing expertise, or you found some experts for which there is conflict of interest, or why you choose this one, or you have the right to react before the meeting. We publish the list and the biography minimum 2 weeks before this, the beginning of the meeting. So, and after that, we publish the summary report immediately, the report and monograph. So all those documents are available. They are available on the website you have here. And we have a GECFA database. GECFA database, when you use this link, so you have all the toxicological data available in database. You have the ADI, TDI, what are the adverse health effects. You have a table that summarizes, give you the main outputs of the meeting, okay? And all the other documents are available. So we have the same thing for GMPR outputs. There's another series. So GMPR is very long, so you can have 700, 1,000 pages. So it's mainly open for transparency, not for communication. It's a lot of information. And so here, for example, GMPR, you can choose, this is the database. So you select the substance and you can, you found all the information about the toxicology. What we are working, because Codex Alimentarius have its own database for the MRS. So there is no connection between the two databases. We are trying now to, because when you have the MRS, it's interesting to have the toxicology as well and not have them separated. So it's something we are working on to have a more modern database, as it was developed more than 15 years ago. You know, the now database and the interface are much better than this one, but it's functional. You can get the information easily. Okay, and we had the same thing for GEMRA, and you have all the. Okay, now, very quickly, just because here is our idea is about risk assessment and how you can be useful for the Codex, starting with the risk assessment. So when you are doing risk assessment, we have hazard identification, hazard characterization, exposure assessment, and risk characterization. So you see at hazard identification and hazard characterization, when we establish the health-based guidance values, We need different type of data. We have in silico data, in vitro data, in vivo data, epidemiology study. So those data are, a lot of them are available in the scientific literature, and some of them are available from the industry because they develop substance. They by law they have the burden to provide those data and to create this data. So in general, for hazard identification and hazard characterization, perhaps for hazard identification, because we need sometimes epidemiological data, and epidemiological data can be related to certain contexts. But in the majority of the case, what we are doing at this step is global. If we have acceptable daily intake for food additives, it will be the same in Qatar or Egypt or France or US. There's no difference, unless there is certain vulnerability, very, very specific. We know that. We know that for mercury, for example, for islands, some islands, because mainly because and because those population were closed, not mixed with the other population. And nowadays there is no difference between the vulnerability or susceptibility of the population. Okay, so what we found here, what we published here, it will be available for all. We don't need to repeat it. But when it comes to exposure assessment, and here, why we are doing those training is to encourage you, to do exposure assessment. Yeah, please. Perhaps. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so perhaps one point of clarification there, Dr. Moise. I totally agree. You know, the hazard characterization part is meant to be universal, and maybe to explain some situations where differences might occur or might need to be. So you gave those situations. But the idea here is actually also to advise that the hazard characterization needs to be looked at with discernment, particularly to review some of the assumptions or some elements of the risk assessment policy, and particularly the acceptable level of protection. Because the acceptable level of protection can be different from one country to the other, or the one that might be chosen universally. And as a result, even though the reasoning may be the same, the final result might slightly be different simply because of that acceptable level of protection.
But I'm coming to it because I said we stopped here hazard characterization, exposure assessment. What you are talking here is about this decision here in the risk characterization. The acceptable.
In the hazard characterization, particularly, for example, for cancer risk, you know, what is my benchmark dose that I want to like to choose?
Because
how much
those decisions are hidden from.
That's the thing. So as long as you know it's read in with discernment,
Yes.
so that we can actually make those differences.
Yeah, but in general, if you want to re-examine those ADI or health basis guidance values, all the data are in JECFA and GMPR, and if you have the scientists so. But saying that, I still encourage you because you have good universities, you have good researchers, we have skilled people that can contribute to this work. And of course, you can contribute in doing some experimentation. Of course, to publish as the university so the data can be used. And you can have people with a certain skill that can participate to JECFA meeting. Because this is one of the problems that we have. The majority of the case, we have, the majority of the experts are coming from certain countries. Australia,
What are the criteria used to select those list of experts?
First, they need to apply. They need to apply. There's the criteria are very clear. The criteria, they have the expertise related to the field, still active, very important. And when we have two experts with the same level. And if I have one coming from the US and one coming from your country, I will take the one from your country.
Because you have many from here.
Yes.
So there is a call normally.
Yeah, the call and yeah, and one of if you are interested, we can continue the discussion. There's very good scientists. They know their fields, but they know nothing about risk assessment. So what I did in France 20 years ago, I went to the big INRA, they're known for research, and we did a workshop to explain to them what is risk assessment, why we need you. And from that, they understand the process. Once they understand the process, they start to apply and to come to the expert panel. So something that we can have, we can develop. Okay, so here we have the exposure assessment is very important. Why exposure assessment is very important? Because it will be very related to the context of your country. Because in exposure assessment, you need to include the consumption data. Because the hazards, yeah, you can have arsenic, yeah, you have one of more powerful poison. So it's a hazard. But if you are not exposed to it, there's no risk. The risk is hazard and exposure. Exposure is 0, the risk is equal to 0. So if you have high consumer of rice, for example, and if your supply chain of rice is taking rice from the region where you have contamination with arsenic, you will expose more your population. So depending on the way you are preparing the rice, are you washing, not washing the rice before cooking it? So all those factors will contribute to high or low level of exposure. So that's why when we are doing risk assessment in GECFA or GMPR, and I understand the complaint. For example, when we have this issue of zilpatirol, I will not open why this issue of zilpatirol. Some of our, some from African countries and from Thailand as well, they said, oh, but your exposure assessment is not covering our way because we are using we eat a lot of offals, okay? No, but it was not there because there's no data on offals contamination. But we ask, if you have data, we can do it. Because in majority, so if you have some population where if all the offers is not eaten, majority, they are not only in some markets. And you know, there's a trade, a commerce of offers, sending it to China because they eat a lot in Asia. So if all those type of products that can concentrate or not some substance are destinated to one part of the population, you need those data to capture that. Okay, so if you have certain type of food that you are eating in different way, and you want your population to be protected, please send the data so we can consider it in our risk assessment. So this is important, and that's why exposure assessment is very important. And sometimes we forget something that, for example, for lead, you have dietary exposure, but you have non-dietary exposure. So knowing the context of your country, and if your children are, in addition to food, are exposed to that through toys, through you have different other sources. You need to integrate that in your analysis because you can use it as a background of exposure, and dietary exposure will add to that. So if you don't have this information, you can end up with maximum levels or health-based guide value. You will not consider that in your risk assessment at the end of risk assessment. So it's very important that your exposure assessment be representative to different situations. Okay. So we will continue this afternoon mainly on exposure assessments. So exposure assessment and mainly on dietary exposure assessment. So yeah, you can be exposed from different foods, from water, from environment, from cosmetic, from medicine, from water, from food. So you see, you can be exposed from different ways. So here you are concentrating mainly on the exposure from dietary. Okay, so when for exposure assessment, so we need the amount of foods, you need the concentration of substance, and we end up with the dietary exposure. So it's very simple equation. So if I give you figures, you can do the calculation. Easy, you multiply the concentration by the quantity. So if you have, if in your food you have, for example, let's say 10 milligram per kilo in foods, and if I consume in one day, let's say 500 gram of these foods, so what will be my exposure? 5, yes. So 5 milligram of this substance. But in toxicology, we don't express that on only in absolute quantity, but we need to divide. What I need more, I need your body weight. So body weight, let's say, I'm big guys, 100 kilogram. So my exposure will be 5 divided by 100 milligram. It will be 0.5 milligram, 0.005, sorry, milligram per kilogram of body weight. Okay, this is the unit that we are using all the time. So using this unit, using this, what you call it, expresses in per unit body weight basis is very important, because if you consider this exposure to your children, okay? Yeah, your children, what happened with your children? Because first, he will not eat the same amount of you. He will eat how much? 100 gram, perhaps. Okay? And his body weight will be, yeah, 30. Okay? If I put, it will be 100 multiplied, 0.100 multiplied by 10 divided by 30. Huh? So it end up with
Multiply 0.05 by 30.
yeah,
1.05
yeah,
multiplied by 30.
yeah. So I need your help. Yeah, yeah. But what is the final result? It's 0.005. This correct? Yeah. 0.003. So in this case is okay. Yeah, yeah. But if I put children of 30, but if I take a baby, for example, you know, baby, when you are at the growth, a baby is eating more than adults if you divide it by his body weight. And sometimes when you do the calculation, because you are using the body weight, you see a lot of cases the baby are highly exceeded. So they will see how the interpretation of that, because people they feel, oh, there is a problem. Yes or no? Because if you are in chronic exposure, if there is no specific harm during this window of age, there is no problem, because you need to, because he will grow, and his consumption will become as an adult later. So we need to be careful because of that. Okay, so do my system is working or not? So I have another question for you. You are prepared? Okay, so what does IDA stand for? It's easy, this one, no? So so do the majority is okay. Yeah, okay. When we put acceptable dose intake, there's a trap. So this is the acceptable daily intake. But what we miss to say is acceptable daily intake for a long period of time. A chronic basis. What we mean by chronic basis? So you usually entire life, yes and no, because when you, yeah, if you take, for example, cancer, you are seeing cancer when the first year of diagnostic of the cancer used to be at 50, 40. Now I'm seeing younger. No, that depends which type of cancer. Genotoxic or not. Yeah, ADI. Oh, okay. Thank you. So if I modify A by T, what happened? Okay. I don't. Wait. Okay. So answer this question, please. Okay, chemical contaminants, food additives, nutrients we can have. Yeah, we have no. TDI, yeah, we are TDI, yeah. So I will. I didn't put what is the meaning of T because I need. I will give it the T after the question. So yes, it's tolerable. So yeah, it's. I will give you the answer. The answer is B. Chemical contaminants. Chemical contaminants. Why chemical? Yeah. For food additives, we use ADA. So to remember, A like additives. You know, T tolerable. So why acceptable? Acceptable because this substance we added. We added intentionally. Okay. Yeah, for wet drugs. So we can add wet drugs, pesticides. We will use ADI. Everything you add, you add it intentionally, deliberately. And the other one, chemicals, is what you. No, you don't have control on that. You don't have is contaminant, environmental, okay, or cross contamination. So there's a debate for that. Because when we are talking, we'll talk later about maximum level. There is so when we when the additives is forbidden, is banned in your country, can you continue to talk about ADI or or maximum level? This is one because in some countries they say it's become like a contaminant or like fraud. It is no more. We are not in the acceptable acceptation. We are. It should not be. It should not be there. Yes, exactly the same. Yeah. So remember, ADI, TDI are two different things. So what TDI for contaminants and ADI for the other. Okay, we have another question here. So, and here we have which one? Can you answer this question? So, okay. So ADI is a long exposure limit and assumes daily exposure over a lifetime without appreciable risk, or ADI refers to the maximum amount of substance that can be consumed in a single meal. Okay. Yeah, this is, yeah. You know, some errors will give us the possibility to explain another concept. So I start with ADI, we move it to TDI. Now, we are talking about ADI, and you see there's two popular answers. The one is about daily exposure over a lifetime without appreciable risk. And the second answer that you provide me, ADI refers to the maximum amount of a substance that can be consumed in a single meal, which is not, that means here there's two situations, one chronic exposure, another acute exposure. Because when we are talking about one single day is different. Because here, the ADI is an average daily is something not that you can eat the same amount every day, but you can sometimes be zero. Some days can be more than ADI, but because zero and ADI, you average them, you are below the ADI, you see? Yeah, you are looking for the full exposure. So if you look at the exposure, daily exposure, if I have my daily exposure here, and I have time here, it can be like this. You see, you can have days with no exposure, days with high exposure, and days with high. But what I'm looking at the average. Okay, we are looking at the average for the long period of time. Okay, so now if I have another question for you. What does ARDF represent regarding chemicals exposure from food? So another concept, sorry. What is IRFD? Accurate reference dose. Yeah, but which the maximum amount of substance that can be consumed daily without health risk, the maximum amount of substance that can be consumed over a lifetime, no. This is the ADI. The maximum amount of substance that can be consumed in one meal or one day without adverse health effects. Yeah. Yeah. So if you are looking at chronic exposure, you are looking at the average of, you see those. But when I'm looking at the acute, I'm looking in one day. You see this day, I can be at risk because I'm very close to the IRDF. The accurate reference dose. Accurate reference dose. Okay, so what you learn? We have ADI for chronic exposure, for additives, TDI, the same for chronic chemical contaminants, and ARDF for acute one day. This is what happened. When you look, for example, for pesticides, when you look at the data on pesticide in France, with the surveillance and monitoring, when we calculate the exposure, we see that chronic exposure are almost low. But time by time, we have acute exposure, and we can have incident because one day there's quality control system. The guy didn't harvest on the right time, and you can be exposed to high level of pesticide. And this is an acute exposure. And I think today we have more problem, we can have more problem with acute exposure rather than chronic exposure to pesticide. Yeah, please go ahead.
Not many people will hear say this. Just regarding the ADI and the TDI, you said earlier that when for veterinary drugs you use ADI to know the accepted level of veterinary drugs, right? But how about when the veterinary drug happen like by crossover, for veterinary, when veterinary drugs found in food that's not in animal food that's not supposed to be there because of a crossover. So you're using ADI.
We continue to use the ADI because the ADI is for the consumer. But what you are saying, it will be added to the exposure. Because so this exposure can come from regular use or from illegal use. Yeah, but at the end of the day, when you are looking at the exposure, we are mixing all the possible exposure together. But when we are doing MRL, you are right, we are looking only for the substance for which we expect to see the bad drugs residues, of course. So depending the objective of the exposure assessment. If the exposure assessment is done to check if the MRLs are protective or not, we'll use only the legal use, the intended use of bad drugs. When you are looking at the exposure assessment at population level, if you are using monitoring data, so you will use all the available data and you add all the possible exposure together. Okay, clear? So that's fine, good. So now, why I put those questions, ADI, TDIs, why? Yeah, because this is the reference. When we are doing exposure assessment, the objective is to calculate the exposure assessment to be sure that we are not exceeding those values. And important to understand if we are looking for acute exposure or chronic exposure. So if you are doing chronic exposure or acute exposure, it will not be the same. So I'm looking at so what is the primary purpose of dietary exposure assessment? To assess the intake of chemical hazards from foods. Good. That is good answer. So what you need as data for that? So we show you here that you need the concentration occurrence in food. You need the amount of consumed food, the body weight, and you have the calculation. It's very easy. Mathematically, it's not. You don't need to have high degrees. So, and let's dig on the available data. So if I'm doing chronic exposure to chemical in foods, is primarily concerned with single meal consumption, sudden reaction to food, acute poisoning, long or health effects from repeated long-term. Okay, that's good. And this is one of the first complication. Because when you look at the equation here, how we calculate, it's very easy. But now, because we are looking not for one single day, when you are if I use a single day, what is the assumption with the single day? For example, I ask you how many what is the amount of milk you drink daily? Give me an example. Half liter. You 250. Zero. I don't drink milk. Okay. So when you provide me this figure, did you think about yesterday, or this is what you consume all the day? Because sometimes you can, so perhaps milk is an example when you have certain habits. So you not change too much. Every day you take your coffee is something, there's no huge variability from day to day. So if you provide me a figure for one day, I'm okay. Perhaps during travels or during Ramadan, you will change your way of eating, but no problem. But if I tell you meat, how much meat you eat per day? Huh? Yeah, it depends on what. Weekend, weekday. But remember, when you are doing what you want to estimate, you need to remember exactly what you want to estimate. What I want to estimate is not one single day. I need the average for your whole life. This is complicated. This is very, very complicated. No, depending. We will explain that because that depends on the available data. So when, for example, when I ask the question, did you eat daily in average 100 grams of meat per day? How you come up with that? You have a sort of heuristic in your mind. So this is what you call expert elicitation. So there's something in your I try to take it from there. So I need to explain to you the process. I want you to think about different type of days. You say there's some days when I eat meat, some days I don't eat at all. Other days I eat small amounts. Other I will eat too much. So ask your intelligence, not artificial intelligence. There's an algorithm that you don't know, and your brain would give me a number. So thinking about it is complicated. So I need to help you. To help you for that, so I need to ask you different days, because you cannot remember. You cannot remember the amount of food you are eating 5 years ago or 1 week or yesterday. Do you remember what you? So what we are doing is we will take sample of days, typical days, and ask a question for that. And the assumption is what you are providing me is representative of your variation of consumption from one day to another one. So this is first the difficulty, which data you need for that, and how we can provide the data. Next question. Oh, this one I will keep it later. So there is a known approach, we call it 24 hours dietary recall. So what is the objective, primary purpose for those 24-hour dietary recall? Okay, so because it's easy for you, so you have a questionnaire and you can remember, this day, you will remember exactly how the amount of meat, the amount of chicken, the amount of, but what are the drawbacks? What are? Yeah, it's only.
Yeah, it's not representative of the whole conception.
So it is only one single day. So that's why we need to repeat it several times to have a better estimation of the consumption. So food consumption are very, very important. So you are investing a lot of money for buying machine, because having a laboratory is much easier. Believe me, because it's techniques. Huh? You have techniques, standardized techniques with ISO. You have the machine, you have the sample, you put it, you prepare the sample, you put the machine, you do the interpretation, and you have the quality control, and you can repeat it. No problem. Now, about the food consumption, you have it is centered to human. When we are working with human, we start to have trouble, you know. No, so the question is, can you put a camera and have some thick objective, a machine that will calculate, observe exactly what you are eating? No, it's not possible. People they change their behavior because they feel observe it. Huh? But believe me, sometimes it's very interesting. I give you one example. We did it in different. We put camera for hygiene practice, so people are filming to see if they are in kitchen or in the industry or in the farm, I mean milking making. So people they start the first 5 minutes. They know there is camera. They will behave. Oh, they are doing washing everything. After 5 minutes, you can the burning. So you delete the first 5 minutes, but after that, you you do exactly that. So anyhow, so this is the problem. And if you ask the question, are you sure that people that will do they have the information? You have to recall. And do you accept to play the game and answer properly to the question? For example, you go to the rural place, poor people, and say, how often you are eating meat? This is very important for them because eating meat put them at a certain class. So they can say they eat perhaps each week, they say twice a week. They will not give you exactly the right answer. And we found, for example, when we do those studies, we found that some people they are over declaring or under declaring. So that depends. If you ask people, one person with overweight, they will hide a lot of food they are eating, you know? Never eat, no chocolate, no sugar, no. So that's why I think we need more investment on food consumption to have better quality on food consumption. I think it's much easier for the other side, for the occurrence data. Yeah, please.
Small question that's coming to my mind right now. In the TTS, this survey, do we ask people if they have eating disorders, for example, binge eating or anorexia? Do we ask people for that in the first questions?
This is very important. Usually when we do those studies, there's two parts. The question about what you are eating, and we need to have an idea about the health status of the person, the questionnaire. It's we are taking into account different aspects. And usually we do it in combination with healthcare and the nutritionist, because and one of the option is because you need to weigh them, you need to have an idea about some indicators. So usually you start the 24 hours recall by a visit to a center. It's optional, but it's helpful. Not everything online. So you explain to them what is how to respond to the question, and by the same time you have a physician or a nurse that can do some medical check. So it's very helpful. Yeah, but I think it's good to do it. It's better to do it, but you depending on your regulation. You know, when you add in a survey, this is the personal data. When it comes to personal data, depending on your regulation, sometimes you have so huge complication when you add health aspect with the name of the people, you need a lot of authorization. So depending on how you get or not the authorization to add and how to deal with the confidentiality is very important. Okay, let's continue. And so we say that we'll go back tomorrow. So let me go back to my presentation here. So what we need here, we have the exposure. So because you are not consuming in the same way, there is some variability. So when you are looking at chronic, of course, because you are looking at the average, in average, what you are consuming. So we are looking at the average of exposure. So when you look at the distribution here of chronic, you see you have less variability than the acutes, because you have here in chronic only the variability between persons. But when you are looking at acute, you have variability between persons and variability from day to day, because some days you are eating low, some days you are eating high. Okay, so and this is why we are looking, we are aiming when you are doing our exposure assessment that the majority of the people have a chronic exposure lower than the ADI or TDI. Okay, this is the case here. And when it is inadequate, the same thing. We are trying to, we hope that the majority of our population are daily exposed to low than ARFD. The proportion of population that exceed ARFD need to be as low as possible. The same thing for the chronic exposure. Okay, so when should we stop? Because we have this ceremony. Do we have a? Okay, so I will do that tomorrow, and I would like to work together in on one example. Okay. Okay, let's look at this example. Is I'm taking this exposure assessment done in Morocco with my colleague from ANSA. You know ochratoxin A. So what is ochratoxin A? It's a mycotoxin produced by Aspergillus and Penicillium species. The source we can find in the cereal, dried fruit, grapes, wine, beer, and spices. And you have the toxicologic effect. And we have the maximum level, EU maximum level, 5 microgram per kilogram for cereal and 10 microgram per kilogram for dried fruits. And JECFA, this is so I told you this is ADA, TDI, very simple. But you know, the scientists, they don't want to keep things simple. So they create new things. So what we mean by PTWI is provisional, tolerable, weekly intake. That's, we move to weekly. Why? This is. So they express is 100 nanogram per kilogram body weight. This is the limit. Yeah, so. And how we prevent it: good agricultural practice, storage control, regular monitoring, and detoxification measures that can be done. So you see, with the climate change, with the high temperature, is more humidity. So when you are storing cereals, you can exceed certain amount. So here, what we found that this study was based on two regions, littoral and continental regions. And you see that they took sample of cereal products, bread, semolina, and pasta. And here you have the sample size, and you have the minimum. of the concentration. Minimum here is the low limit of detection. And you have the average concentration. Why you are UB? Because when this is one of the issue when you have data, when you have less than limit of quantification, you have two options. you put it at low, put it 0 or limit of detection. So the way of how I can show you this is mainly how to deal with the non-quantifiable results. So we take the upper level. Okay. So it's not the issue today, but what you observe here in this table, what brings your attention here when you look at those results? If you look at the mean or the average, so for bread, 132 in literal, semolina is 0.64, still important. And you look at the maximum, remember the limit is about 5 or 10, huh? 5 maximum limits. You see that we exceed some maximum limits. And you look for bread, when you look at here for the bread, in literal, 132, and the bread in continental is 0.005. So that means it's not producing the same way, or the way to storage is different. Yeah, but maybe the storage or the supply is different supply. So we want to do we want to do here exposure assessment for this population. So we don't need to do it for all foods because the issue is the bread. We want to see what is the exposure of Moroccan to OTA via bread. So what you need to do this exposure assessments? What you will need? The consumption data. So we need the consumption data. So for this area, and I choose the traditional Moroccan food, breads. There's specific bread here. How you name it? What is the name of this bread? No, khubz. So for the moment, I found there's two main type of breads. So one small one, this is the size, 100 gram, and another one, 180 centimeter. No, 230, 230 gram. So, no, I think there's we have to take out 0 or something. No, it's millimeter. It is millimeter, not centimeter. Yeah, I have to correct it immediately because it's not. Because when I look at it now, I say, oh, there's an issue here. It's a big giant. This is bread for giants. So I need to. So I will use you and the participant online to have an idea about what is your consumption. Huh? So to have more data, you can do for yourself, and you can do for one or other part of your family. Yeah, if you remember. So for that, I need this is another QR codes. And for this QR code, you should come. You should be. Yeah, oh, sure. I will keep it. Okay, you should end up Google Doc. It's working. So I keep it. So for this survey, what we need your name. But do I need your name? I should not. So I need, so you mask your name, put something, because I don't need your name. So second, what is asked? Gender. Why it is important to have gender? Fitting behavior different, and it's useful to see the representativeness of this sample. And sometimes we have some effects are not the same for toxicological parts for men or women. Okay. Next, what I asked, age. Age, yes, important. Yeah. Next, weight. Without weight, we cannot do the calculation. And after that, so I give you, so now I want to challenge you. Please answer this question in general. What is your average daily intake? But after that, I want to help you. I said, because perhaps we are not eating, we don't eat the same amount of bread daily, depending what you are eating. If you prepare couscous, you will not eat. You will eat less bread. If you are eating pasta, it will be less bread. But depends. Some people they continue to eat bread, whatever it is. So, so I give you 7 days. So think about 7 days to help you, and say, okay, 7 days. Usually on Friday, we prepare this type of food. Usually in the family, there is some repetition. Some repetition, so it can help you. So what I'm asking you is the total amount of bread from breakfast to the dinner. So you need to add, and to help you, I use the image, so you can have idea. If you eat this type of bread, you have the size. Are you eating the full 1 or 2 or 3? I don't know. So so depending, so we will see the variability. And why this exposure assessment was decided in Morocco, because we know in Morocco, in North Africa, and I think in majority of Arabic countries, is one of the staple food. Bread we are. Yeah, cereal and bread, mainly bread. We are eating bread. The majority of our recipes, you eat a lot of bread. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So that's why, because here bread, because we can have specific actions, and because we observe high level of concentration of in bread. So we want to see what will be the significance of those high concentration on the exposure. So if you are all connected, please take the time. We give you, we'll take the break now. I think we'll stop because we have 4:30, we need to move to the other place. Okay, I think what we can do, look at this survey, take the time to fill it properly. You can reply it several times, because for the exercise for tomorrow is better if I have more data. So you can think about your wife or husband or your kid. Okay. So so you can duplicate the lines. Instead of having one reply, you can have different replies. So you can reply for yourself and for your family or friends.
Like this week, the whole week is not a normal week. So because you are in the hotel, so maybe you are eating less. Exactly.
Usually when we are doing when we do those survey, because we want to have an idea for the average one. So usually, for example, when I had the question, if you are doing a large survey, should we use Ramadan or not? Ramadan will be completely specific. So perhaps we need to do a specific survey for Ramadan. And because the diet is completely different. Holidays, no. We don't use holidays because when you travel, yeah, so it's not representative of the other. So yeah, what you so, but in general, it would not play a huge role on the general exposure. So if you are traveling few days, comparing the 30 years, is negligible. So it will not change too much. Yeah.
What about health status? If you are diabetics, for example, specific PrEP. I mean, shouldn't be in the survey?
Perhaps you will eat less.
Yeah.
So it will be, we will have the information. It will not change because we are trying to have it for general population. We are not excluding them. So in the population, you can have different ages, different health conditions. Yeah. No, because yeah, no, you are right. No, diabetes is chronic. So when you change your diet, you will change it for a long period of time. For example, if you have, if for example, you are selected for the survey, and one day before you have diarrhea, poisoning, so you change completely. So usually you exclude you because you are not. If you have acute condition, it will change, and the data that you are not, you don't have this kind of flu every day. Huh? So if you have acute health condition, usually you are excluded from from the study. You use another day for the recall. Yes.
Are there any considerations for the, because, you know, not only for Muslims, maybe for other ethnic groups, if you sum the days of vacations, the special Muslim Eid, as we call that, the summer vacation of each family, the events that each family can have, it will be like, I think 60 days out of, so in those 60 days, our diets are different from, yeah.
I think we did, yeah, because the special days, if you what you are eating is completely different. Usually, the chance that when you sample the days, the chance that you are in those days are very low. So I don't think is a big issue, but usually what we do is because we cannot do high number of 24-hour recall. Yeah, the recommendation is to be sound 3. So usually what we do, we take 2 days of a week and 1 weekend, because the weekend we don't eat the same way. Huh? You see the point. But yeah.
Egg or 6, so it means later on you say if you are at this egg, you consume this much, isn't?
Yeah.
So why we don't add also the health status? So
Yeah, the health status is part of the information, so we can adjust after with the health status.
Okay.
But I say it's preferable to have the health status, but when you start to add the health status, you need to have a lot of permission. Yeah, you complicate your life because you are adding sensitive data in your database, and you need to take care for that and have the permission for it. Yeah.
Some people they have, for example, I know every day what I eat, so I can buy it loud. So you consider this because it's not long term.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not chronic, like it's like
So because we need 2 different information. The one is about the quantity. Okay, the quantity, because it said I eating daily. You can say, I eat daily this kind of fruits, or I eat this fruit each 2 days. You have the frequency, is very important. But what you need when you eat, how much you eat. So when we repeat 2 or 3 days, is to capture the variability from one day to another day. You see, because you not eat as a person, you can be eater, but or you can be occasional big eater. So we need to capture this variability. Huh? Sometimes, yeah, you eat pasta. You can have one service. Another day you can take 2.
And then what do we use as a representative value? Do we use the distribution of values, or do we use median, mean? Tomorrow's discussion. Okay.
This discussion of tomorrow. So try to fill the survey. So if I have it ready this evening, so we can save time tomorrow. It will take you 10 minutes maximum to think, but do it. Now, why I put this questionnaire? Because it's very important to understand the difficulty. You are dealing only with bread here. I want you to understand the difficulty for the consumer on how to answer and what you need to help the consumer, but not to disencourage you. It's very important to do the survey, but the survey need to be done properly with the right tools. Excuse me. So I think we can stop here today, and we continue tomorrow at 9 or 8:30. I don't know. The same place here. Yeah, same place tomorrow here, please. So fill the survey so I can use your data. I will not use my own data. So it's better that I can use your data. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So see you tomorrow.